Demosani?
Yeah.
Would you like to ask your question, please?
First and foremost, I would like to thank you for organizing this opportunity. My question is relating to Brownstone. There are people who are living in Brownstone in houses which are not family friendly, in the sense that the toilets, they are upstairs, there are no head basins to wash your hands after using the toilet. You have to go down the stairs on the ground floor where you have the taps. As mayors, what are you going to do to correct that? And in addition to that, I just made a quick research. I found that most of those houses, they are now being occupied by new arrivals. I'll say in brackets, immigrants.
So you wanted to know how the houses will be modernized to accommodate
Yes, how they
washing
can bring out
facilities?
these houses to be family friendly and to be more hygienic than they are now.
Okay, can we start here with Tim?
In all honesty, I don't know. I wasn't aware about that as an issue. But afterwards, I'd welcome a chat and actually get to know in a bit more detail. I don't want to just kind of come back here with some political rhetoric and when I physically I don't know about that issue. So yeah, afterwards can we have a chat about it? Is that all right?
Can I then ask Barbara, as you were raised in Braunston?
I certainly was raised in Braunston and now live in Humberston in a council house. In fact, you know, the council houses across the city actually need a good shake-up, as well as in Braunston. All our outside estates, council housing is actually decreased in maintenance, even though the city mayor / housing department say that they're doing a good job. But I can assure you as a council tenant, I'm not happy with the service that I receive because I also pay full rent. And I don't believe that any council should have to pay full rent because to bring the council rent up to level of the private landlord next door neither. Because as the gentleman's already said, that the property is inadequate to family use, and I completely agree with what you said and would like to make a lot of changes in the old housing stock, not just in Braunston, but also across other sides of the city too. I think there has to be major investment, capital budget monies that should be incorporated in the old housing stock. We do need new housing stock, and obviously them standards are a lot higher. As an ex-member to the planning committee, I'm more than aware of what's been going through in the new builds, and we would like the old council stock standards up as the same as the new builds. So we would definitely support and give you additional support to do so.
Thanks, Barbara. Can I now go to Sir Peter?
Yes, as Mayor, of course people who read the papers would think we'd only done things in the city centre. But as Mayor, we've invested, I talked about them earlier on, in schools. £300 million. What we've done in the city centre, small change compared to that. And I'm coming to the housing. Don't worry. £300 million in those schools. Over the 5 years as Mayor, I've invested over £100 million in our housing in the city. £100 million. Compared with what we've done in the city centre, that is a very significant sum. But, and this is the but, compared with what's needed, it's only at best work in progress. And I commit this evening to continue that same level of investment in the future, so that over the next 4 years we'll actually have dealt with not just those many thousands of houses that we've already dealt with, but also the rest that need the attention and the investment that yours so evidently does, so that next time you'll be able to say, not when are you going to do it, but when it was done.
Okay, thank you, Sir Peter. I'm conscious that this question might not be able to be answered by many, but are any of you...
Can I answer?
Yeah?
Yeah.
what strikes me about what you've said to the Sami, and I'll declare that we know one another as we studied together on a course at the university 5 years ago. First of all, it's not a great welcome to someone new in the city, but we have a housing revenue account which Sir Peter's alluded to. And if I was mayor, I would prioritise, that may not be the most highest priority what you've described, maybe something else. Maybe rising damp on a property that's causing an illness in a child. So it needs to be a prioritised investment. And as you get into the role, then you know that priority. You would charge your officer to get that priority list. Now, I wanted to float something. This has just come to my mind, and I don't know if it's something for the future. In other parts of the country, what councils have done is to sell or to move over their housing stock to a registered social landlord. Now, I get a laugh beside me. That may not be the best solution.
No, sell off our council homes, I don't think so.
No. I come from living in different parts of the world, and I've seen councils do that successfully. Now, on the size of Leicester, that might not be an option.
No.
But there are housing providers out there that have a very good record. There are others that don't. I think sometimes what people are afraid of is we have the large body of the city council and they protect us. But if you want to be free of the city council, you can have that housing association accountable to the residents and by extension by accountability to the local representatives who are elected in the ward where those houses are. I think that thought is way in the future, but it's a thought. Getting back to the point of the reality of your situation now, get the priority list in the housing and invest the money.
All I can say is the truth is people can promise all sorts of things, but there's a limit to the money that we've got to spend in the city. A lot of it is controlled by central government, so we have to prioritise according to our needs. Now, maybe, if I was mayor, that I could prioritise your particular situation, but the reality may be that with so many people homeless or struggling to find homes of their own, we have to prioritise finding people's homes before we start spending money on improving their homes. Unfortunately, you know, it's very easy to make spectacular promises. The reality is you only have a limited amount of money as mayor, and you don't have all that much control about how it gets here, where it comes from, because a lot of money from the city is taken by central government, and then a little bit is given back. And unfortunately, I can't promise you a solution to the problem.
Okay. Just the housing revenue account is the account which every resident pays into in their rent. And this year went up by what? 2.3%. That is the ring-fence budget for social housing. That's correct.
Yes, definitely. Short question.
Could you wait for the microphone?
Sorry, yeah. My name is Mokhtar Hussain. Just buckled about the replies you got about this housing situation you've got in Roston.
Is your question as a consequence of the response you heard?
That's right, yes.
Okay.
And my question is similar to what was asked to the leaders of the political parties in the parliament. Would you be able to leave, or would you be willing to swap and leave in those situations what these people are being put into?
Okay, could I straight away go to Adrian? Can I go to Adrian and answer the previous question? I'm happy to answer both.
Okay, so I'll give it a go. First of all, I'm actually stunned to hear that we have houses in 2015 in the council stock that are in that sort of situation.
I find it very, very hard to believe. So one of the first things that would have to happen as mayor, there are lots of departments, but one of the things that would have to happen is a review of the housing stock and to find out which is which is up to standard, which is substandard. Would I want to live in a house like that? Well, do you know, when I first moved to Glasgow many, many years ago, I was at university there, and I did live in Glasgow for a short while, and I lived in a tenement building there that had no inside loo. The loo was outside on the staircase that you had to go out to. They've all gone. They've long since gone, and if you can get rid of them in a place like Glasgow, I'm not sure we ought to be able to do that in a place like Leicester. But one thing that Glasgow did do, and did do very well, was set up housing associations at street level. And they turned the streets around by being allowed to have power to look after their houses, to take pride in their homes, and to be able to get some funding towards looking after their houses in those projects, in those street association projects. And that's one of the things that I've been talking about, being able to get the power out to the people where they need it, so that people can put forward their complaints and can put forward and show where the issues are. I'll be absolutely honest, I had no idea that people were living in houses where there was no hand basin in the toilet or near the toilet where they could wash their hands after they'd been to the loo. I find that absolutely stunning in 2015, I really do.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Yes, it is. Can I have any matrix? You wanted to answer with you?
Yeah, just...
Okay.
No.
That's an answer, okay.
Can I just give you another example of that? My son's recently been very ill with an infection. So, I mean, I know the importance of washing hands. So,
I just wanted to say that maybe we should have a competition in this city, and maybe it should be called "I'm a councillor, get me out of here." Because, like I've said to you before, there are 52 members in our city chambers, and there's only one council tenant, which is myself. So I'm used to living in them standards. Does that make me less fortunate? No. But you get branded for living on a council estate in this city. Well, you certainly do in the chambers of this city. You get victimised and singled out because I come from a council estate, which is wrong. But the standard of these council estates that I have lived in are exactly like the gentleman speaking over there. The problem is that the council do not listen, because I've been banging on for 7 years to the Labour leaders across the chambers to improve the standards of housing. If they're expecting tenants to have a rent increase, then we want to see something for it.
Okay, thanks, Barbara. After, would you be prepared to live in a house like that?
Well, I grew up in a house without an inside toilet. That's life, basically. You have to make the best of your means. It's not always pleasant. That's just the way it is. You have to try and improve yourself. If the council has the funds, then of course it should try and improve council houses. But you have to prioritise. Do you want to improve the houses of existing council tenants, or provide more houses for those who are homeless? That's not an easy solution, and I don't think one man should decide that. As I said, I believe in direct democracy, so that the budget should be decided by the electorate. But me personally, I would say I'd rather provide houses for those who are homeless, and then once we've housed the homeless, then try and improve the housing stock. It's not easy to say I could live in those conditions. Millionaires couldn't live on my wage. Does that mean that my life is unbearable? No. It means it's not as easy as a millionaire's, but you can survive. And those who earn less money than me, or have less housing than me, doesn't mean that their lives are unbearable. It's tough, but you can't wave a magic wand and give everybody a nice house to live in.
Thanks,
You have to prioritise how you're going to spend your money.
Thanks, After. Tim?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said, After. I think and it is a hard decision. No is I think the answer to the question. It's clearly things need to be done. As I mentioned earlier, I don't know a massive amount of of that area. So I want to actually learn a bit more about that before I come back and kind of give you a more comprehensive answer. But just from a broader perspective, I believe that, again, as Avatar said, we do need to think about looking after the more vulnerable members of society. And I think that clearly having a basin in a different area is ridiculous. And I think that a lot should be done to fix that.
Okay, so Peter?
Yeah, just to deal first of all with the question of whether you should prioritise building new homes or improving the ones you've got. Actually, it's a balance between the two. You do need to do both. I would like to build a big farmhouse, and we're able to, but I am committed to continuing the programme of improving the ones where we have a responsibility to the tenants to make sure that they get value for the money that they pay in their rents. I have been in many council houses across the city, and there are some actually I'd be delighted to live in, and there's some I certainly would not bring my family up in. And I want all of those council houses to be ones where I and my family would be proud and comfortable to live, and we're not there yet, but it is something that I'm committed to continuing to do. As I say, there's about £100 million of investment over the last 5 years. You'll see the same in the next 4.